You know, every single business, I don't care if it's a tiny little coffee shop or a massive resort, faces the exact same multi-million-dollar question. What's the right price? If you set it too high, your customers just walk away. But if you set it too low, you're literally leaving money on the table. Today, we're going to unlock a really simple but incredibly powerful framework that helps managers get this right. It turns pricing from a total guessing game into a science. Okay, let's dive in.
All right, I want you to imagine you're the manager. The board just gave you one job: maximize total revenue. Simple enough, right? And on your desk, you've got two big buttons. One says price up, the other says price down. Which one do you press? Well, the answer, as we're about to see, isn't just a gut feeling. It's a strategic decision that depends completely on what it is you're selling.
So to really bring this to life, we're going to head to the Tanjung Lesung Resort. It is the perfect laboratory for our pricing experiment because it offers this whole range of different products and services, and each one has its own unique customer base and, most importantly, its own unique pricing puzzle to solve.
And this slide really shows the two extremes we're talking about. Over on the left, you've got motorbike rentals, basically a commodity service. I mean, there are probably dozens of identical rental places right outside the resort gates. But on the right, that exclusive, one-of-a-kind luxury honeymoon suite with its own private beach. One is all about competition, the other is all about uniqueness. If you use the same pricing strategy for both of these, you are absolutely guaranteed to fail. So how in the world do you decide the right move for each one?
Well, the key isn't some super complex algorithm or a fancy piece of software. It's what our source material calls the golden rule of revenue. It's a method that takes that complicated pricing dilemma and turns it into a clear, confident decision. This is the tool that separates the guesswork from a real winning strategy.
And here it is, the total revenue test. Put simply, it's a way to predict whether raising or lowering your price will actually make you more money. And the whole thing hinges on this one concept called price elasticity of demand, which, I know, sounds complicated, but it's really just a fancy way of asking a fundamental business question. How sensitive are my customers to a price change? That's it.
Let's start with our first scenario. This applies to products with what economists call elastic demand. The best way to think about this is like a rubber band. It's elastic, right? It stretches a lot with just a little bit of a pull. These products are exactly the same. A small change in price causes a big stretch in customer demand.
So, what kind of products are we talking about at our resort? We're looking at the budget rooms, the motorbike and jet ski rentals, even the meals at the main restaurant. So why are they elastic? It's simple. Because customers have tons of other options. These products have so many direct substitutes. A customer can just as easily eat outside the resort, rent a bike from a different guy down the street, or stay at a cheaper hotel. Their loyalty isn't to you, it's to the best price.
For these super competitive products, the correct move is often the opposite of what your gut tells you. You don't raise the price to make more money. The strategic move is to actually lower it.
And what happens when you do that? Well, because your customers are so incredibly price sensitive, that small price drop acts like this powerful magnet. All of a sudden, your restaurant is packed. All your motorbikes are rented out. Your budget rooms are totally booked. You see this huge, disproportionate surge in sales volume.
And here's the crucial part. Even though your profit margin on each individual sale is a little bit smaller, the massive increase in the volume of sales more than makes up for it. Your total revenue actually goes up. This is the volume strategy in action, plain and simple.
And the source material gives a really stark warning here. If you make the wrong move, if you raise prices on these elastic products, customers will flee to your competitors in droves, and your total revenue will absolutely plummet. It's a classic, totally avoidable business mistake.
Okay, so that's one side of the resort. Now let's walk over to the other side of things where we're talking about products with inelastic demand. So instead of a rubber band, I want you to think of a thick steel cable. You can pull on it with a price increase, but it barely stretches at all. These customers, they're not very sensitive to price changes. So what are these products?
Well, they're the unique, the desirable, the must-have items. Things like the luxury villas, that one-of-a-kind honeymoon suite, or really any room during peak season when there are just no other alternatives. The key here is a lack of good substitutes. A really smart business doesn't just find these products. They create them through branding and unique features to make them less price sensitive.
So what's the strategic play for these premium offerings? Well, you do the exact opposite of the volume strategy. You have pricing power here and you should absolutely use it. You raise the price.
Now, you might be thinking, wait, won't raising the price scare customers away? But for these special products, it largely doesn't. And why is that? Because the customer isn't just buying a room. They're buying an experience, a status, a memory. The person who wants that specific honeymoon suite wants it for reasons that go way beyond a simple price comparison. Sure, you might lose a few potential bookings, but the vast majority who value what you're offering will still happily pay up.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the yield strategy. The big boost in margin you get from the higher price on each sale far, far outweighs the tiny little drop in the number of sales. You're maximizing the yield from each of your unique assets, and as a result, your total revenue, and most likely your profit, climbs significantly.
The warning here is just as critical, but it's about the temptation to discount. If you start discounting these premium, inelastic products, you are just giving away money. You would have sold them anyway at the higher price. Unnecessary discounting doesn't bring in more customers, it just destroys your revenue.
Okay, so we've dissected two very different types of products and two totally opposing strategies. Let's put them side by side and create a clear, simple playbook for any pricing decision you have to make.
And here it is, the complete picture. For your elastic, commodity-like products, you lower the price to drive up volume, and your revenue goes up. For your inelastic, unique products, you raise the price to drive up the yield, and your revenue goes up. See? Two totally distinct paths, but they both lead to the same goal. The fundamental job of a manager is just knowing which path their product is on.
You know, there's a really simple visual way to think about this too. Elastic demand is represented by a relatively flat curve. This just shows that a small drop in price results in a huge increase in sales. A tiny move down leads to a big move to the right.
And on the flip side, inelastic demand is a steep curve. This illustrates the complete opposite. You can have a huge price hike, a big jump up, and it only causes a tiny little drop in the quantity sold. A big move up only leads to a small move to the left. So, what is the big takeaway from all of this? Well, it's a simple four-step strategic process. First, you have to diagnose your product's place in the market. Is it elastic or inelastic? Second, choose the correct strategy. Are you playing a volume game or a yield game? Third, you execute the right action. Price down for volume, price up for yield. If you can master this, you will consistently maximize your total revenue.
Ultimately, pricing isn't just guesswork. It's about deeply understanding your customer and your product's unique story in the market. Every single product you sell, or even the things you buy every day, has a demand curve. The only question is, what is that curve telling you to do?